talking about? I'm not running out my mouth, I know this without a doubt. Cause if you know these streets, then these streets know you. And when it's time to handle business, then we know what to do. Me and my crew, we stay true, old school and new. Many will call, but the chosen the few. We rise to the top, what you want, just in case you forgot. Rush the stage, grab my mic, show me what you got. You didn't know that we was doing the scene. It's alright, it's alright. I know you know, I see you smiling at me. It's alright, it's alright. Here comes the ready or not. Here comes the boys from the south. Here comes the ready or not. How you like me now? I say. Here comes the ready or not. Here comes the boys from the south. Here comes the ready or not. How you like me now?
The Gulf War was sparked by Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. Because of the United States' interest in oil, President Bush strongly commended the Iraqi action and called for Iraq's immediate and unconditional withdrawal. On August 8th, the President addressed the nation announcing the deployment of U.S. troops to the Middle East. On November 29th, the United States approved the use of force if Iraq did not withdraw from Kuwait by January 15, 1991. On January 12, 1991, 3 days before the United Nations deadline, the U.S. Congress granted President Bush the power to go to war. 24 hours after the deadline, war broke out. The U.S. led a devastating air campaign that lasted about a month. Following the air strikes, a massive invasion of Kuwait and Iraq by the U.S. along with Great Britain, France, Italy, and Saudi Arabia overwhelmed Iraqi forces. The invasion lasted only 100 hours. Although they reached their military goals, victory was incomplete. Saddam Hussein remained in power.
Iraq and its leaders must be held liable for these crimes of abuse and destruction.
January the 17th, 1991, 3 a.m. Iraq time. Hell breaks loose on Baghdad. The formidable firepower of the coalition, amassed primarily by the United States over the past 5 months, reveals its awesome might. Televisions worldwide start showing images of a supposedly foolproof, high-precision campaign of so-called surgical bombings said to hit nothing but Iraqi military targets.
On March 3, 1991, Rodney King, a black motorist, was driving on a California highway with 2 friends. When officers from LAPD attempted to stop him, he led them on a high-speed chase until he was finally forced off the road. Officers claimed that King charged them and resisted arrest, which made them use force against King. King pleaded that he was scared of the white officers and was just trying to defend himself. Little did King or the officers know, they were being taped by a resident in a nearby apartment. The video showed the white officers beating a defenseless black man laying on the ground, and it was not long until the video made its debut all over the world.
Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright.
4 officers were indicted for unlawful assault and use of excessive force for beating King. The trial began in February of 1992. The video of the beating was played before the jury, which was composed of mainly whites, and they decided that race would not be the primary factor in their case. The defense claimed that King was intoxicated, under the influence of illegal drugs, and became aggressive. After 6 weeks of testimony and 6 hours of deliberation, the 4 officers were not guilty, consequently sparking the uncontrollable riots in Los Angeles. After hearing that the 4 officers who brutally beat Rodney King were found not guilty, thousands of people in LA rioted over the next 6 days. Over the 6 days, violence, looting, and mayhem engulfed the streets. 54 people were killed and over 2,500 were injured. One incident was when white truck driver Reginald Denny was pulled from his truck at a red light and was severely beaten by a group of African Americans. This heinous act was caught on tape by a news helicopter and was streamed live across America. The riots caused an estimated $1 billion in property damages. The chaos ended when the case went to federal trial because of the public outrage, and all 4 officers were found guilty.
Good morning. We're live in the Weather Channel Forecast Center. It's August 24th, 1992. History in the making as Hurricane Andrew is now making landfall.
Hurricane Andrew started as a mild tropical depression in the Atlantic Ocean to the east of Bermuda. As it moved, it gained power, enormous power. On August 22nd, 1992, Hurricane Andrew, at this time a Category 4 storm, made landfall. This natural disaster left 50 people dead and caused an estimated of $26 billion in damage, ranking it the most expensive natural disaster in the nation's history at that time. The destruction was widespread from the Bahamas to Louisiana and Florida. Southern Dade County was hit the hardest. Very few homes were left standing as winds in excess of 175 miles per hour ripped off roofs, snapped power lines, and phone lines, leaving thousands in the dark. The National Guard provided a tent city for the homeless. However, to protect themselves and their belongings from looters, many stayed in their homes despite the enormous damage.
Through Biscayne Bay right now, so it's calm under that eye. But up to the north, we've had reports out of the Hurricane Center, which is just on the northern side of this here in Coral Gables, of sustained winds at 115 miles an hour with gusts up to 152. That is very close to where Dennis Smith is right now. Dennis, give us the latest on what you're experiencing. Obviously quite a bit.
Yes, we certainly are. In fact, the winds continue to blow us around, and I could pretty well verify that we've probably seen that 120 plus even here. We've had, over the last hour, a lot of the roofing around the particular structure we're in getting peeled off. We've heard some more glass shattering. Again, we haven't been with power for a couple of hours now, and the winds have just dramatically come up. You reported the Hurricane Center, which is not too far from where we're at, had a peak gust of 152. We have seen palm trees literally bend in one direction and snap back up, upright again. We've heard and seen some of the tree limbs snapping. I'm kind of getting a sandblasted effect because of the pebbles on the roof are kind of being blown around as well. We have not experienced any calmness, though. I mean, it has been continuous increase in the winds. So as far as our exact position in relation to the eye is kind of hard to determine, but we are starting to feel the wind shift around a little bit. They were coming from my left to your right, my left to right, and now kind of coming at my back and coming a little bit occasionally from my right. So we're getting the gustiness, and we're also getting the shift in the winds taking place. But as you pointed out, I think we're just about at the peak we're gonna feel in the Coral Gables area right now.